What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here. If you don't know who I am, I'm a pro photographer right here in New York, and you're on my YouTube channel where I do a lot of stuff about photo nerd things and how to live stream and lighting and all this other stuff. But I recently rebooted the channel and I have been slacking, and I apologize about that. So this video is kind of like a quick band-aid till I can figure out what's going on, because I'm not a full-time YouTuber. I have a career and I can't keep on making enough time to get to the studio to record things. So this is actually a live broadcast from my Twitch channel where I was doing a practice live demo because I was getting ready for Imaging USA, which was a 7-hour-long workshop I was teaching. So it seemed to go pretty well. The Twitch channel was asking me if they was recorded anywhere. So I said, hey, let me just chop it up, try to cut all the fat out and just put it out there on my channel. So I hope you guys like it. I'm going to get back in the studio and do some like legit videos, I promise. If you have anything you want me to cover, hit me with a comment down below. And if you don't know anything about my work, go ahead and hit me up at LastXWitness on all social. Check it out on Instagram, write me on Twitter, join me live on Twitch at twitch.tv/LastXWitness to be in that chat when I go live for demos like this. I hope you guys like it. Thank you for letting me off the hook on this one, and I will see you guys soon. Aside from what kind of light we use, I'm actually thinking maybe we shoot towards the window and we do kind of a live view of the exposure for the windows behind Sheila, and then we kind of TTL our way to an exposure with Sheila. That's an option as well. I got stands everywhere. I can't even walk in here. Can't even walk in here. I'm walking here. So I think I'm actually gonna shoot into the windows while we have some sort of light behind Sheila. All right, is that a blue sky window? Is that a blue sky behind the window? It is a bunch of buildings, honestly. You're not gonna see blue sky because the sun is ripping right into the windows. In fact, let me see if I can go into a live view setting so you guys can see what the hell I'm looking at here. I don't really have a signature light. I light according to my subject, which is how everybody should light, in my opinion. I don't think you should just slap on whatever stuff you always do for every single thing that's out there. We're photographers, we create light, and we document. So let's do that. All right, let's go into this. So you guys can actually see what I'm looking at. And there's Sheila, you know, and this is 250th of a second at f4. And you can see that she's pretty backlit, but we have our windows, right? Now, if I wanted to, I could go into my settings here. I can go into my white balance. I can go into auto white balance for this one and let it determine what it thinks is the white balance, which you'll see is a lot cleaner than the way I had it. The way I had it, you would have seen more of the warmth that's coming through the window that I'm genuinely seeing to my eye. So the top one actually seems more genuine to me. The bottom one is the camera correcting for the warmth that's in the shears there. So this is 250th of a second at f4. So that's wide open, ISO 100. And we can take down the exposure of the windows to get more texture out of the shears. But then we're gonna, you know, we lose light that way. I like having that rim light that's coming right onto Sheila's cheekbone right here because she's facing this way, right? Now the question is, how do we fill in some light for her? I mean, there's a lot of people that just be like, just throw a reflector in there. All right, so let's see what a reflector does. It's not gonna do much, but it'll do enough, right? So it opens her up a little bit, right? Nothing crazy, but it is there. It's just, you'd have to adjust your exposure. Now, if I adjust my exposure for the reflector, that means that I am going to be upping my ISO because I'm wide open right now on this 24-70 f4 lens, and 2, it'll blow out the windows. Watch, if I make an exposure for Sheila, let me put on the live view again, so this way you guys can see what I'm looking at. Now let's say I put the reflector in there and I'm like, okay, I want to make Sheila a little bit brighter. So I'm going to go and boost up my ISO till she's brighter. Now what happened to those windows, right? They blew out. Yeah, it's natural looking light, but we lose all that definition that we had behind her, which I kind of tend to like a little bit more. Now I just boosted up my ISO to 200 from 100. Isn't the craziest thing. We could keep adding some sensitivity to that sensor. Of course, it's going to introduce noise and other things that we don't want, but it's all forgivable. So if I go to, let's say 200, let's go to straight up to 400. She'll be very blown out. I mean, she's literally white. And you guys can see that now we have a decent exposure on her, but the windows are blown, blitzed, just annihilated. When we could have all this nice dramatic looking texture to those shears behind her, right? So why don't we light Sheila so that it looks more natural, but it lets us keep the light that's happening behind her. We have to kind of act fast here because I'm losing the light and the light is actually moving. Is everybody with me? So what am I gonna do? I think I'm gonna start off with a B10. I know I asked you guys what you wanna do, but I have this single light right here. I might as well just rip it into it. I'm gonna take this B10, I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna go group A, channel 3, and we are going to sandbag this. What I'm gonna do is basically mimic the direction of the light that's going on with her cheekbone. If you guys look at this right here, if you guys look at this light right here that's hitting her cheekbone, we can sort of mimic where that light's coming from, but still shape it. Watch. So I'm going to boost this up. And by the way, let me know how my mic is. My setup is so janky right now, it could be a little too hot. Are you German? No, I am New York, Ian. The sun is about to set. The sun is trying to set on me right now, that's for sure. That is absolutely for sure. Okay, so now I have a couple of options here. One, I can go with the white balance that I started with where it was nice and warm, right, which is right here. Or I could let the camera decide to clean it up. We can go warmer, or we can actually go corrected. Now, if I go warmer, the light that comes out of the strobe is not going to match. It'll actually be a cleaner looking light. If I go with the cleaner light, both light will match. And I'm kind of more into that idea when I'm going for something that looks a little more natural looking. Now, I could use the raw light, but it's going to be hard. Actually, wow, we lost a lot of light. I'm looking at the Z50 right now, and we could totally go a little bit. We lost a bunch of light in here, huh? That's a little better. Go with the cleaner light. Well, how about we do both? How about I start with the warmer light behind her and then we change it, all right, before I lose this light that's happening here. Now, I could go with the raw light, but the problem that's going on with a raw light like this is it's gonna look hard, right? So before I even put a modifier to it, let's take a look at what a hard light will look like. Oh wow, I lost a lot of light behind her, guys. In fact, I lost so much light, I'm gonna do another test shot. So before I even turn this light on, I'm gonna do another test shot and just look at, oh wow, the light moved completely. We are all over the place, guys. So this is f4 at a 200th of a second. And you see how we actually see definition in those shears? That's kind of what you want. The one thing you don't want is for this strobe that we're about to use to lay on top of those shears. Once it does that, you're lighting the shears as a reflection rather than the light coming through them, so you won't get that window look to it. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna turn on this light, raw head, and I have it positioned almost to the side of her a little bit. Not even, like it's a bit of a 45, I guess you could say. I could turn on the model if I wanted to, just to see where it's gonna hit. It's gonna have a pretty hard nose shadow to it. I'm going to flip this light into TTL, let it decide what it's gonna do. I'm gonna go into my metering and I'm gonna go into spot metering and I'm gonna meter just on Sheila. Now, we're gonna get an, oh wow, I just lost another half a stop of light behind her. Let's take a look at what this looks like. Look at that, it's really hard, it's harsh, but TTL is not wrong here. This is white paint that has detail in those highlights. It's not wrong. The sun is setting ultra fast. I'm going to lose this whole shot as I talk to you guys, but we're shooting a mannequin, so it's not a big deal. What I can do is I can go to TTL and I can tell it to drop me down a stop and a half. Now let's take a look at what this looks like. There we go. So that's way less light than we had there, but does it still look natural? No, because it's obviously soft light coming through, right? Soft light coming through, hard lights illuminating her, it doesn't match. So what can I do? Well, I'm gonna cheat super, super fast. I'm gonna use a reflector. Wow, we lost all this light, guys, look at this. Oh, this wasn't my plan. I was planning to have a live stream that had daylight to it, but OBS sucked. So I'm gonna use this Lastolite Halo. Let me go back to this. Wow, we lost a lot of light here, huh? So I'm gonna set up this halo really quick. This is the diflector, not the reflector. So what this is a reflector on one side with bands of silver and diffuser, and the other side is just diffuser. So all I'm gonna do is hold this up to my light as I shoot. right there, it's the same feel, I think personally, as a shoot-through umbrella without having to grip an umbrella. Point the flash up at the ceiling is low enough. I'm not going to point the flash to the ceiling because I don't want the flash to just bathe and completely fill the space. I want to shape Sheila a little bit. That's an option. If you want to do that, knock yourself out. But if I do that, light is still going to affect those shears by laying on top of it as an exposure for a bounced light. If I'm separating my exposure from the windows and then my other exposures for this strobe, I can control both at the same time. Having the ability to do that leaves me the ability to keep texture on those shears. So now we just want to clean up the shape and look of the light that's coming from the B10. Let's see if I can not make a complete mess out of this. All right, let's take a look. Oh, I lost all this light, Let's take a look. And you see how now it's a natural looking light that's coming from a direction that's believable, right? It's a little under. We're gonna go into the camera and back up. Put some power back into the strobe, and now the sun just came back up. Oh, welcome to my life, guys. There you go. See how much more natural that feels without it looking like a strobe? And yet, the direction of the light is believable because you'd feel there's more windows from that side. We still have an illuminated eye over here, right? This is still illuminated. It's not trapped in darkness. She's shaped out. The highlight still kicks from the windows. And if I wanted to, I could just up my ISO and bring more light in from the windows. But what I'm really going to do is actually give a little bit more light to the strobe. And another way to really keep this under control, so to speak, is to go into aperture priority mode and let the shutter speed get dictated by the camera. There we go. Look at how clean that looks. Nice and clean, you know? Let's make a better frame though, you know? But look how easy this was. You could do this with a speed light. Let's take a look. Give her a little bit of flare behind her a little bit. But it's believable, right? You would believe that the light is ricocheting around the room enough to illuminate her from the angle of that light. What's your settings? You should be able to see the settings. Oh no, I'm blocking them, okay. 100 ISO, 200th of a second, f4. My strobe is only putting out 3.5, which is well within speed light range, believe it or not. So did the last light warm up the light, or is it just my imagination? Yeah, your diffuser will probably warm up your strobes, definitely. Now let's see what this shot looks like on our first white balance that had the warmth to it. Let's do that. Let's go to our white balance. Let's go back to this. Watch how sunsetty this looks now. Watch this sunset look she's gonna have. Look at that. So now we have this like more organic looking light with just enough white light to neutralize where we want it. And we even have this little bing over here. But this is the difference between auto white balance giving you some blue in there and me determining that I always shoot at 5000K, and whatever the light color is, the light color is. And you guys saw me do versions of this. Let me see. You guys saw this, right? This is same thing I'm doing right now, except we're playing a balance game and we're going with it as the sun sets. But the key is also, I want to make sure that the light looks like it's coming from a direction that makes sense. If I just did an overhead light with some clamshell junk or some whatever garbage somebody on some YouTube channel told you to do, like Rembrandt, it wouldn't make any sense because the light isn't doing that. So what do you guys think? Do you like the warmer or do you like the all neutral? Maybe the nose shadow is too much. Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's a natural shadow that would occur if we're going for a natural look. If I wanted to change her nose shadow, I would pull the light more on axis with me, so it's kind of more straight on, but then it really looks like it's being lit because there's no friggin' windows on that side. But if you want to do that, that's up to you. That's your work. You know, that's not how I like to light things. I like to give it a little bit of a normal, natural, organic look. the name of the game for me is make the shots believable. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I like to do it. I don't like people to go like, oh, there's a flash there and the flash is on the right side and blah, 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 blah. Giving Sheila, who's painted all white, a sculptural face. I mean, this is white paint that we can only sculpt her out with shadow, right? She could easily just blow out like I am right now on this friggin' camera that I didn't want to put on auto ISO like a mook. Blue gel would be good. Well, no, what you would actually do is put an orange gel on the strobe and then the orange gel, a CTO gel, like a quarter CTO, and then shoot a little warmer so that the whole thing neutralizes, which is basically what the white balance is trying to do right now. The warmer look is definitely kind of more the way I go with things. In fact, and not to keep pulling up my work here, but if you look back at the shoot I did for the Fuji X100V, it's almost you're looking at the way I'm doing this, right? Like just keeping that warmth behind her a little bit, but just enough neutral tone, right? Because that's the light that we know from our life, right? We know what this light looks like. Your viewers will know what light looks like. And when things are so overly neutralized like this, it gets a little, I don't know. The warmer one makes it feel like you're legit dealing with this time of day. And I think that's the goal here, is to go, it's not that I shot this any time of day. I shot this during sunset. You know, I just told my wife, you're very good at this, Seth. Thanks, Jay. I don't need a 250 watt second light for this. You could do this with a speed light. That being said, a lot of speed lights out there tend to shoot bluer. I don't have that problem with the A1s, but I can tell you I have seen that on lower cost flashes. They definitely shoot bluer, and you are going to run into some balance issues, but just know that going into it, that you're gonna wanna gear your white balance warmer, and you should be fine. Any questions, guys? Is this helpful at all? How much white balance to get warmer? How much on white balance to get warmer? So my white balance is set to 5,000 K and 0 on magenta and green. And that's how I always leave my camera. I always like to leave it on 5,000 because I feel that gives me what the light looks like to my eye rather than a constant correction. Does that make sense for you guys? Like, there's nothing wrong with always going for a neutral looking light. But for me, the thing that connects people to images is the believability. And when you can actually see what's going on there for organic light, and then people can forget about the way it was shot and then get connected to the subject as if they're there with them, that's where I think you start getting elevated photos. You know, we can do stupid setups day after day, all in and out. This is clamshell, this is 3-point, this is, you know, whatever painter they want to teach you. But at the end of the day, if they're more hung up on the technique than the subject, then you lost sight of the shot. And this is a pure demo. We're doing it for the technique, but now you have a technique to put into your back pocket that you go, oh, the sun's setting. This would be really cool to do it like this, you know? Would a color checker be used in this case? A color checker would be used if you wanted to keep everything balanced to neutralize some things, right? So if she is a color checker. If you think about it, Sheila is white. If I go here and I click on Sheila, look, it went blue. If I undo that, you get that warmth again. And you can even go into your tether and you can go and look at your white balance and you can actually dial in where you want it to go, right? So if I think that this is more look, 4781, I can shoot at 4781 on my Kelvin, right? Because that's a temperature, right? Set it to 4781 or like 4600 in your camera maybe, and you should be fine. Call it whatever you want. I just lit her for her. I didn't go into my head and go, I'm gonna do Rembrandt. You know, think of it this way. We started out here, right? We started out here. We broke the shadows up with a reflector and then exposed for that reflector. But we were like, nah, I wanna have some detail in that background like this. And then we added a strobe, right? The strobe's right there. And then we said, well, let's clean up that strobe. And we put in our diffuser in there, right? And then we decided we wanted it a little bit warmer. Look at the evolution of what we just did here, but you should be able to, walk into a situation and go, I just need my base exposure for the background, and I'm going to modify the light to get it here. And you should be able, at some point, you should start getting comfortable enough to just skip all the steps because you're already aware of what's going to happen. And boom, you're looking at the evolution of, a backlit shot. There's some sheer curtains with one strobe and a diffuser, right? Separate her more from the back. If I separate her more from the back, meaning you want to underexpose the back more, if you want to do that, what we would have to do is basically, here, I'll show you. We'll go into live view. Now you're looking at what I'm seeing, right? Now, if I want to separate it from the background even more, if I close down, you can start seeing how the background starts closing down, right? I'm going to turn my strobe back on, and then you're going to see just how much she's separated from that background. Now it's like a night look a little bit. I wouldn't buy that for a night look personally, but closing down is doing what? Ripping away that background. Now you can see where the strobe is laying on the sheer rather than letting the light from the outside rip through the sheer. If I added a kicker light, the way I would do it, honestly, is I would do it from where the window is already, because the windows already add a kicker. Look, dude, that's a freaking kicker light. She is separated from the background. I think people get obsessed with just going, well, throw another light in there to separate them, but look at the shot. They are separated from that background. They literally have that's as pinpointed as you're gonna get for separating something. That's like a white line of light separating her from that background. Why does it look so warm? Because we're determining in the camera to expose as if it was sunset. If we wanted to make it neutral, we could just neutralize it, right? So that's neutral, sunset-y, clean, a little more nighttime looking. You could throw whatever lights you want into a situation, but think about your reasoning, because it's really easy for you to get lost in constantly throwing a setup up there, right? Like constantly just throwing lights at it, and it's not getting any better. You're just throwing in techniques like, throw a hair light in there. Why don't we do some shutter drag? It's like, what are you doing? Look at the shot and what you're shooting, right? Now, in this situation, a little bit of a hair light might be kind of cool, but then you would definitely look like you're lit. When we're looking at something like this, which was just a few minutes ago, right? This is just a few minutes ago. This looks like a nice, breathable atmosphere. Here, we're getting some weight to it, right? Does that make sense? That's been my problem balancing ambient with flash. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, one of the best things about mirrorless is that it's given us the ability, wow, we lost a ton of light in here, huh, guys? It's given us the ability to literally see our light in the ambient wow, we lost a lot of light in here, huh? There we go. Wow, I just opened up freaking 3 stops, guys. That's nuts. Anyways, this just shows you how fast I'm losing light in this space. And this is how fast you kind of have to work when you're dealing with dramatic looking daylight, In fact, while we have an underexposure happening, how about we do this? Why don't we open up the sheer and see what we can get as buildings in the background? You guys want to do that? Let's do that. So if I open these up, of course they're caught on stuff. Why wouldn't they be? Oh, the sky actually looks really beautiful. Let me see if we are even going to see. Oh yeah, we're totally going to do this, guys. You ready for this? Let's go into live view right now. I'm going to grab my diffuser right here. And you guys are seeing the exposure that I'm dealing with, right? So this is what that's what the sky would look like if I shot her like this. If I open up, you can slowly dial in how you want it to look, right? Now, because I'm changing my aperture, TTL is going to change the power of my strobe depending on how I want it to look. So if I'm thinking right there is kind of nice, let's turn on the strobe. It's going to open up the live view, and let's take a look. I'm making you guys sick yet? Look at that. We have this like reflection happening over here, which is blah, but look at look at the way we're exposing for it now. So now that I'm seeing it's not that great of a background with where she's standing, and since she can't move, I'm actually going to get in there tighter, and I'm going to just get a real tight portrait of her. And then you have just that background bleeding a little bit, but it's not as like nice, right? I just feel that when you put in this texture behind there, or you have this like real, look at the dynamicism that's happening behind her. But if I was out there on a balcony, that's kind of the look I would be getting. But you can see that on the bottom one, it's very strobe. It's very, it's flash. You know what I mean? If you look at the way the light in movies is amazing, the number of times people are slightly dark, they don't just blast people with light, keeps the background natural looking. That's true. One of the things they also do in cinema is they light all outside the room. All the light is blitzing through windows, so it comes in looking like natural light. It doesn't look like a sitcom where everybody is just lit. You know, they're on a stage, right? Lighting out for like Game of Thrones and stuff, all that stuff is like ripping through the windows to give it that nice natural look to it. Yeah, I mean, we've been doing a bunch of different stuff here. If you look at this journey we've been taking, had this really hard look to it. We had this blown out look to it. And this was where we started off. So look at this journey we just did. I didn't change anything. My model has not moved. Yeah, she's good. I know. I'm giving you credit. Don't worry about it. Shh. I'm giving you credit. Yeah, see, I'm more a fan of the shears. The problem with the shear is that it becomes the same shot over and over and over again. Out of all of these, it's probably this one and this one that I would pull. But yeah, so that's kind of where I was going with this. Before I lost this light, I figured I would give you just like a look of shooting with some natural light behind your subject. Number 4, but which one is number 4? They're in like no particular order here. Is there a wrong way to light Sheila's bone structure? Sure. Sheila, if you don't light Sheila to sculpt out her features just go away. Like that ring light stuff that everybody loves, it takes down textures. She is only one color. The shape you're seeing is pure shadow. Shadow to highlight is all you're seeing on Sheila. There's no skin tones, there's no blood vessels, there's no warms, there's no reds, there's no yellows happening in there, there's no aftershades happening. She is painted physically white, guys. Middle right. Yeah, that's kind of this one, right? Yeah, that's kind of the one I would go with. But I mean, to be fair, these 3, 1, 2, 3 are all test shots. This, I'll tell you what it is. We'll do this. I'll go with this. We'll go with this, and probably this is more like what style would you go with, you know? Or even I guess something like this where it's like neutral tone. But you can see where we just went with this, right? Rembrandt light would take away the natural look away. First of all, get off of this stupid idea that you need to do a particular lighting pattern for all the time, or just that's what you're looking for is some triangle on someone's face. Get off of that stuff. If you're following me, that's my philosophy, okay? You need to start looking at your subject and what light would work for them. Forget the name, forget what it should look like because of that name. This should be symmetrical here, there should be a triangle here, this should be that. No, what are you trying to pull off here? Are you sculpting your subject? Do you want symmetrical bone structure? Do you want to open up that shadow underneath their chin? Do you want to minimize certain textures on the face but maximize others? Do you want to change the perspective point of your model? Do you want people to really look at this image and pull that first thing? What's the first thing you want them to grip onto? Is it a highlight that's in there somewhere? Is it the size ratio of something that's going on there? Is it somebody that has a unique feature to them that you really want them to show and people to anchor into so that they're recognizable from that feature? Realize these things. Forget the entire idea of, I read a book from the 90s on lighting and it told me I shouldn't cut off the head and that Rembrandt lighting works for everything and it's my favorite ever. Get away from that. Stop it. Just stop it. It is killing me every time I do a demo, someone brings up like a pattern, you know? Wow, this is some cool light right here, huh? We got this cool tone behind us. We got this warm, does this hit her? Oh, hello. Oh, hey girl. Okay, let's shoot all natural. Let's see what we get on that, because that looks really beautiful. Let's see if I can get this to go down. I'm gonna take this strobe off and we'll go into live view and see what we get. So if I look at, well, we got nothing coming in this camera right now, that's for sure. So first of all, I'm gonna open up. You can start seeing the blue, right? I'm gonna tell Sheila, back this shoulder a little bit. You can start seeing that blue coming through. What do I need to do? I gotta either drop my shutter. 100 should be okay. It's a little dangerous territory, but look at how beautiful that light is, you know? Look at that beautiful light. You can see how like we have this warm light flying through, right? And then we have this cool tone behind her, right? So if I'm working with this light, then I can take and just open up shadows on one side a little bit, right? Just like this. Now, open up the shadow just a little bit, but look at that. How focused in are you on her now when it's that cold light coming through that sheer, but somehow we have all this warm light coming through the window. And this is just ambient light. I didn't put in any strobe. There's no strobe in this shot. Now, the reason I'm reflecting from underneath is because the light would naturally bounce from the floor. I don't have to do that. I can, you know, I can inch it in like this, which you guys would probably like a little better. Look at that. Look how beautiful she is. Look at that. Oh, come on. Come on. Cold mixed with warm always equals a lot of drama and separation. It's really nice to do it like this. And at 100th of a second, really sharp on that eye. Looks good. I think we you know, not bad. And we're shooting at 200 ISO, 1/100th of a second f4. You guys with me? How you guys like that? She never or always blinks. I know, right? You can't, her eyes are open. Like that's her eyelid right here. So her eyes are, you know. But you know what I never get with Sheila? Closed down iris. I never get to show you all that beautiful color she has in her eyes. Would you put a diffuser on a stand rather than handhold it? I don't do that for the one major reason of as soon as I grip it to a stand, I end up wanting to move it while I'm on the fly. That's kind of the beauty of being able to hold your diffuser is you're literally shaping the light. You're looking at it and shaping it. You know, once it's on a stand, the only movement you have to the light is your model moving her pose, and that's you're disrupting. You kind of have to keep your variables in places you can control them the most. And if I am able to just spend a millisecond to do this, I'm gonna do this, you know? Get Celtics paint eyes on her. I love that she's all white. You know, as crazy as this sounds, I still figure things out with light that I haven't figured out before or notice it more because I'm literally using shadow and highlight constantly when it comes to Sheila, because that's all I'm looking at, right? Let's see what happens when I get like really wide here and get like a little bit more of the room in here. But this is kind of the beauty of mirrorless is that you can actually look at the light that you're shooting, right? I mean, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful, right? Now we got this real, it's not midnighty, but it's got that cool tone to it. I always like the pale blue gray palette. Yeah, I'm a cool tone. I lean more cool tone for sure. Here, check this out. So now if I face her more towards the light that's bleeding through the window, right? And I scooch her, I can actually see, I'm gonna have to move the camera over there, but I can actually see more of a sculpt to her. So now, before I even put a reflector in there, look at this beautiful woman. Look at this woman. Look at you. You know what I mean? Like that's just natural light. We have blue light bouncing off of all the buildings, and I have warm light ripping in from the sun straight up. And that's sharp, man. That's every crack in that paint. And if I wanted to, I could even do a little bit of, you know, keep her ear in there. Really, really nice drama on a freaking mannequin. And look, all I'm using is a kit lens here, guys. It's just a kit lens, right? Kit lens and a mannequin. Let me see. This is a Nikon Z6 in case you were wondering. Look at that. Man, look at that. Come on. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's sharp, dude. That is sharp, my man. So now I'm running the line of the shear in line with her cheekbone. Nikon should be sponsoring you guys. Nah. It's better that we're not sponsored, trust me, because if we were, we would be stuck whatever they make us use. Now, wouldn't you guys rather us use stuff that we actually 100% definitely believe in? And I'm really close to her when I'm shooting these. I'm really, really close to her when I'm shooting these. Sheila has ear piercings. Yeah, so they actually used to put earrings on her when she was back in her former life. Back in her former life, they used to put earrings on her, yeah. Actually, you know what I want to do? Let me see if this works. Turn to me, turn here, turn to me, scooch this way. Oh, all right, calm it down. Hey, stop, we're live. Shh. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Now if I use the 24 millimeter side of this and I really warp her out, you get, oh, is Twitch gonna freak out that I have plastic boobies on my page? But look at that, that's a 24 millimeter portrait right there. That's 24 millimeters. But it gives you a different feel than what they would tell you is a portrait lens, right? What's the difference between both eyes on focus compared to only the closest eye on focus? It's a psychological thing. More times people just feel apt to really get into connecting with a subject based on the closer eye. If you want to break that idea, go for it, but it's your shots. But if people aren't connecting with your shots, it's based on the choices you're making. You just have to really commit to what you really believe in. Man, I'm losing light like crazy, huh, guys? What do you guys think of this shot? But yeah, I mean, what am I really shooting with here? A Nikon Z6, no reflector, no diffuser. I'm just looking at the light that is existing in my space, and it's beautiful right now. I mean, it's absolutely stunning right now. For the next 2 seconds before it goes behind that building, I'm gonna have to turn on a light in here. Give her some nobility, right? Shoot from lower, and she gets this prestige to her a little bit, right? And look, that light is just bang, right on that eye, right where we want it. Beautiful, beautiful. She looks like she's a little bit framed up in the sheer, right? Let's see, like right about here. Right? That it looks like it was made for her. Oh, the wind blew and actually kicked up the shear over here. Is there lens distortion in some of these shots? In the 24 millimeter, there's definitely distortion. That's how I think that's right there is a great portrait of Sheila. Super sharp. It's almost like her eyeball is spotlit. Anything else, guys? You guys good? I have no idea how long I've been streaming for. Been streaming for an hour. Not bad. Not bad. I like how I pulled out. I pulled out 5 speed lights, 4 B1Xs, a B10, and I used natural light. This goes to show you that natural light sometimes just the way to go. No matter how much gear you think you need to throw at something, sometimes it's right there. Well, I'm running out of light fast in here. Even when I use strobes, I try to replicate natural light ratios. Well, that's kind of how you should go about it if you want people to just kind of believe it. I've been struggling with holiday lights and balancing that ambient color with flash. Well, the way I look at balancing flash with anything is, wow, this light is super dramatic, guys. Ooh, look at me. I think I should I turn a light on in here? It'll kill the way this looks, but maybe I'll just keep on adding ISO until it looks ridiculous in here. The way I look at doing stuff with like a lot of different light sources is just always go and keep your camera on daylight, and you can actually gel and adjust the lights that you have control over, right? Meaning, if I'm using holiday lights, it's a bunch of different colors, but if I'm mixing in a strobe, as long as my strobe stays neutral, I can use that strobe to just break a little bit of the crazy light color to give my viewer an anchor point of believing the skin tones and stuff, and then let the colors just do what they're naturally going to do, or succumb completely to the color and get really kind of abstract with it, you know? Let's just take a look at what we did before we call it. So we ended up here somehow, you know, did a bunch of natural light stuff with Sheila, right? But we were also able to, oh, this one's kind of cool too, actually. We were also able to, oh, did I do a wide angle portrait of her? Yeah, I did. Right, so that's all natural light. And before that, we were going down a journey of throwing strobe at Sheila here. The sheer, no sheer on the windows made it just blitz with nice natural looking light. Before that, it was like super hard with the shadows, right? Because you're throwing light at it. And before we put a strobe in there, she was looking a little meh, right? So we just went down a pretty long journey here. But all of this happens from understanding light, not remembering lighting techniques. Light A goes here, B here, reflector there. Like, no, this is all about understanding what light does and then going and making it do what you want it to do, right? All light is predictable. We know how it acts. We know what it's supposed to do. When this happens, this happens. If it's warmed, we do that. If we want it to be softer, we do this. If we want the shadows to go that way, we do it this way. We know what to do here. The idea of creating light is basically understanding what light does so you can just set it on the path that you need it to go on, all right? You know, when you're pulling crayons out of a box, you're not going, well, here's a red one. I really hope this draws blue. There's no way that red crayon is going to draw blue. So understand what your lights are doing, what the kind of lights you're working with are. This looks amazing right here, actually. Let me try one last portrait here of Sheila with this as my background. Come over here. Oh. Let me see what she looks like. This one's gonna be tough. Okay, let's get a light going on because I definitely need a light. There is this crazy, crazy looking, actually I'll take a shot without the strobe on first. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to crunch down on the aperture to really bring out that sky. I'm gonna turn her a little bit like this. So just so you have an idea of what I'm looking at here, this is the sky behind her, right? Just to give you an idea of what I'm looking at, although I want this out of my way. I'm gonna lose this light. I'm gonna lose it, guys. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. Let me see. Yeah, so I mean, that sky's looking pretty dope. We're gonna get that crossbar from the window in there, but whatever. And I even have my computer in the way here, but whatever, right? Let's see if I can spin you guys a little bit. We're gonna do exactly what I did before. I'm gonna throw the strobe on here and we're gonna go to ISO 100. Okay, so the light just changed again. I'm gonna take a real quick look through here. This is what I'm looking at as like a really dramatic sky behind Sheila. Maybe we'll do like a really dramatic sky, right? And what I think we'll do is we will turn on the speed light. We're back in TTL. Let's see what we get with what we just did. I don't know if we're gonna like this, guys. Yeah, see, so we crunched down that back window so much. Let's see if we can get more of that window in there. I wish I could get her to turn a little bit. I'm gonna have to put down the camera to do that. Let me see if I can do it like this. Get some more of that window back there. But you see how this looks lit, like lit, because there is literally no light. But you can actually see how this looks lit, like crazy lit, but that background looks really cool, right? Speed light is just shooting across the diffuser. It's a B10 shooting into the diffuser, yeah. So I'm moving the diffuser like really close to her. But what I would want to do is put a reflector on here to keep the strobe from spraying everywhere and just let it hit the diffuser only. What about taking down the exposure compensation on TTL? It's just going to make it dimmer. It's not going to change the look of it. The look is still the pattern of the light. The A1 is just my trigger, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I should have prefaced that. I apologize. I just saw this and thought I'd try something really quick. Actually, you know what I could do? I know what I could do. I know what I could do, guys. Let's see if I can do it before I lose all light completely here. I can steal Daniel's beauty dish with the grid, and what I can do is make it a harder light that's only on her. I can boost this up a little bit higher and push it more towards the window a little bit. This is a mess. This is a mess, guys. This is a real mess. I just put the C-stand leg through my tether cable, so that's just to show you how much of a mess I am right now. Couldn't have just finished, right? I had to go and try this. You see that? See how stupid I am, guys? I could have ended on top, but no. Let's take a look. See, now it's a little more dramatic, right? I'm losing that backlight anyway, though. I'm losing that sky. But you can see how it gets way more dramatic. And now we're not lighting the room so much. Like this is lighting the room. This is lighting Sheila with a hard light source. I am spot metered on Sheila. But the spot meter is only happening for the TTL on the strobe. I am completely 3 stops underexposed on my background. We could also just take off this grid. And then it's going to light the room up a little more. Why am I doing this? I should have just ended this demo. But no. And there you go. It's a little opened up in those shadows that we had before, right? We were dealing with like dense shadows back here. Now they're a little bit more opened up. You could play games with this. What I probably would do is run like a warmer light as a rim light just so it looks like a house lamp, you know? Or I could just not shoot into that. Watch. Look at that. Oh, she's outside, guys. She's in the desert. Check that out, guys. Those are car headlights on I-95, you know, Route 66. She totally got off at a rest stop, and there you go. Boom. You're welcome. Right? Boom. If it doesn't work, crop it out, right? Now I kind of want to put the grid back on, actually. Now it's really like going to be dark on her, which is cool. But the background is still ripping light through, remember? Look at that. Oof. Yeah. It looks like she's in front of a drive-in movie theater. Just need a little bit of flare. Flare. Okay, let's try it. I'm already knee deep in this garbage, right? Why am I doing this? All right, let's do a flare because I'm an idiot. I'm going to take this A1. I'm going to put on the modeling light. I'm going to crank this to about 8. I'm going to zoom in the head all the way. And I'm going to watch where I put this flare behind her. Let's see. Let's see what this looks like. This is going to be a little ridiculous, but whatever. But this isn't going to be a flare. All right, so we have that light breaking her open, right? Now we're going to relax this straight forward. Let's see if I can make a flare happen here. I got to inch this in. Let's see what this looks like. There you go, flare. Now, that flare could use some warm ass light if you ask me. So I'm gonna go over to my bag of tricks over here. All right, this is a Click Gel CTO. Now what's gonna happen is this is gonna wash around and probably turn into a bit of a mess, but we're just gonna do it. I'm gonna pump more light out of this strobe actually, because I put something in front of the strobe and it ate up that light, remember? There's your flare. But now we lost sight of that background that we wanted, remember? Yeah, I'm not really feeling this, guys. But we did put a flare in there. Did it on the spot. But yeah, so that's the flare. This is where we were before. See how we lose the drama? Now let's say I didn't want the flare. What if I just wanted a warm rim light behind there that doesn't look like it's a light? I'm gonna throw a diffuser dome on this thing just because I want it to scatter a little bit more than to be so blitzy. So we're gonna zoom this head out and I'm gonna put a diffuser dome on there with the CTO, and I'm just gonna light the back of her head, and I'm going to drop this light down to about 4 stops, because all I want it to do is kick. I like just a little tiny kick on her. I lost a lot of light behind her though, which kind of sucks. Let's take a look at what that looks like. And there you go. That looks way more natural. Like that's a street light behind her. And there's headlights that is flashing in front of her face a little bit. And that makes more sense to me, right? Hard light in a hard light situation. See how that plays more into it? Because we're going with the way light would look like in a situation as such. Does that make sense to you guys? I mean, this is a fun trick, but this shows a lot more maturity in what you're trying to achieve, I think. Like, it's not just all styles. I mean, look what's going on behind here, you know? I think I'm gonna open up that background a little bit more. So what's gonna happen is I'm going to open up my aperture a little bit. And that means I'm going to turn down this rim light a little bit so it doesn't burn on her. And now we're gonna take a look at what this looks like with a little bit more of an open aperture. And you can see how that background starts coming into play a little bit more, a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, doesn't that look like if you just saw that image and you didn't know what we were doing in this studio, you would start, the first thing you would think of is, oh, where is she? And that's what you want. You want people to stop thinking how or what you're doing, but where is she? Who is she? What is she doing? You know? Right? So we have all that texture behind her. And now if I see the windows more, you kind of go, oh, it's just a studio, you know? Even that's kind of cool. But you get what I'm saying? You guys feel me? Makes sense? Let's see what happens when I make the light softer on her, because then we'll see really what's happening. Now, because I'm putting a diffuser in front of this, that orange light is going to reflect off of here if it's too powerful. Or if I have it flat like this, I'm definitely going to be reflecting orange light back at her. But if I keep it closer to the light and just look at how much projection of the modeling light I get on here, see, this is half of it is illuminated. This is the full thing illuminated. Now let's take a look. Little cleaner light. She's outside. You got that crazy sky going on. Yeah, there's a black abyss happening here, but the only way I'm going to alleviate that is if I open up my aperture a little bit more, which we could do. I have to open up my aperture and then raise my ISO, I think, actually. So let's do that. Let's do 200 ISO on the back. Let's see what happens. And you can start seeing those buildings are coming into play, but you lose all that drama, right? You lose all that like sculpty drama. You can even see that the backlight, because I didn't adjust it, stretched as an exposure and got hotter where I had it. I like how I got in here and I was like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do for a demo today. What is this? And we just did all this, guys, with basically the same kit over and over again. We'll do, whoo, that's a lot of light coming out of this Pro Photo. Actually, you know what I can do? I can bounce this into the ceiling and it'll fill the room a little bit. There you go, look at that. That is the only light that you're seeing is coming from the Pro Photo B10. So that's a pretty good modeling light. Yeah, so that's just the B10, just so you guys know. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it there. Man, I am gotta get some food in here so I don't die on here, okay? Be good to each other, guys. I will see you in, I don't know, see you in the chat somewhere. Later, guys. Woo.